Hi, everybody. It's Mark Hanna, unscripted, uncensored, unapologetic, psychologically immune from social media control. Here I am. We're going to finish up this video for the Long Road Fatherland starting from turn 3. I'm going to get this done. Didn't seem to get a lot of views of this. I don't think it's a very popular game. So I'm going to blast through this to finish the scenario, finish the playthrough, upload the video, and move on to a different project. Okay, that being said, let's get back down to it. So we're on turn 3, and just to set the background here a little bit here. So we've got over here the West Germans, and here are some more West Germans here. And then we've got a Soviet blocking force here, plus these guys that have been bypassed, and then a Soviet attacking force coming in over here. The entire goal, of course, is to take as many city hexes as possible. And the goal of these West Germans is to stop them from doing that. Um, you can see up here, I have one Soviet unit. Probably should have used a red for the Soviets, but I didn't. So the blue are the Soviet units. This guy forgot to move in. I'll be moving him up later this way. Whoops, I meant to use an arrow key. He's going to be coming on this way. He's a recon unit, and he's useful for improving the accuracy of artillery blasts. That's the whole idea for him. Okay, so let's just blast through here on turn 3. So we're going to play let me play through this. So it's turn 3, optionalization, initiative. Soviets won the initiative. So there's some action cards here. I just started putting them out here. Let me zoom in on this because what I was doing is forgetting about them. This is one thing that happens when you're playing these kinds of games. So here's the Soviet cards. Move out, ECM, and for the motherland. It's an extra rally. Okay. So that's the cards that they have to play. Then it looks like they got another one for an artillery barrage. Okay. And then I've got these for the Western guys. They have an airstrike and superior training. Okay, those are the NATO cards available for the turn. So we go through some rallies here. So let's just zip through all of this. Okay. It's always useful to remember that when you do rally and you're out of LOS, or if you're in superior terrain, you do get a +1 to the morale. That's easy to forget. So don't forget it. Um, there's all these little minor modifiers here and there, not summarized on the card. Unfortunately, the card itself has certain things related to fire and some of the summary effects of some of the units, but not all. And then this page is simply terrain. So you don't really get, you don't, for some reason, they minimize the amount of player aid coverage uh, that they didn't overdo it this time. I think they underdid it, I guess, to keep costs down. Right. So here we go. Continuing on, they're trying to rally some units. You're seeing some of them come from unsuppressed status here. That's what you're seeing here. So some more recoveries. Okay, so now into the fire phase, using the ECM marker to jam this NATO unit. The ECM marker basically negates the effect of this focus marker. So that's really all it does. It's not a major effect. I guess a reroll is nice to have. So it removes the reroll, which is the focus represents your individual command meddling in the situation on a local basis in that particular area. So that is now done, but now the West is playing superior training, so they get an extra -1 on their combat rolls. Check this out. Subtract 1 from all NATO attack rolls. There was some discussion about this in the forum saying that this was overpowered. Initially, I agreed with it. Then I'm like, well, let me see for myself what happens with it. Okay, so the Soviets fire an artillery barrage. They bring it in here. Actually, I did this wrong the first time. Actually, it only hits 3 hexes. It doesn't hit all 6 hexes. It's not ASL. So I think I fixed this later where it affected this, this, and this, and not these guys. So I'm just going to zip through this. There's some results here that don't actually occur. I was just rolling to see if rubble could occur. You see some suppressions occurring here, here, and here. And then you put a blast marker everywhere that affects the line of sight in and out of the hex, making it hard to see anybody after that. Okay, so I put all the blast markers there. Found out later this was done wrong. Then it was my turn to fire these leopards. Blammo. I think they tried to kill one of these guys here. Or T-64s. Eliminated. Okay. Uh, and then they tried to fire back and didn't get anything. You'll see the Soviet T-64s can't handle leopards worth very much. Okay. Um, so finally, you see a T-80 taking its first shot at full strength. Both of them fired to use combined fire, so you got a much stronger shot. This mortar wouldn't have been able to shoot across the water anyway, so it was a bad move on my part for the West Germans. Okay. So a wasted unit. Here comes an airstrike in for NATO. It gets to attack 2 different hexes. They had a man pad though, which would try to shoot down the SAM portable SAM launcher, something like that. It missed, but it's all exciting. I really love this kind of stuff. All right, so we're moving out. That was a special move for the Russians there. Okay, that's a special move. I guess what happens is they get to move with the move out mark card. You get to move out before you fire, but you don't actually. Um, it doesn't actually let you do a free move. It just lets you kind of move out of the way or move before somebody shoots at you, is what I think it's for. Or you can use move and fire at the same time rather than gun and run. Um, I suppose it has its uses. I can't picture and visualize all the reasons other than getting out of somebody's way who's going to blast the heck out of you. That's what I think it's supposed to be used for. It's like an escape. It's like get out of here before they shoot at us, kind of a card. Okay, so we're doing a lot of firing. There's a lot going on here. Here, I think I made a mistake. You can see I shot these guys, but they're anti. Well, of course, the Milan isn't too bad, and it looks like I disrupted one of the T-88s. But these other guys tried to shoot at very low odds, and it was a bad attack. They should have waited for close combat um, rather than doing this. So just remember when you're infantry, yes, these little are this 4 attack you see in the black circle has basically a range of 1, and it's probably really good against something like a a BMP with a no armor factor, like BTRs over here. You see this BTR here has a armor of 0. So yeah, shoot your RPGs at those things, at your Humvees, your trucks and things, but don't try to shoot them at a T-88. You're not gonna do any better. You're better off doing a close assault where you can get in closer, and I think that'll represent shooting those RPGs at point blank range where you can hit the back grills of the tanks or whatever. Okay. So, mistake there by the West Germans. Here comes the Soviets moving up in their movement phase. Now it's them trying to run away over here. Here comes the West Germans now on their turn. And I think I moved into the close assault phase next. So this one's over. Let me pause the tape for just 1 second. Okay, so I stopped there and did a new file here for close assaults. Okay. And this was supposed to have been, no, this isn't it. Just one second. Okay, so now I got it. So this is the close assault phase for turn 3. I think this is where I correct the artillery mistake that I made. Okay, you can do close assault if you're marked with fire. Yes, I did learn that. So this T-64 can therefore not assault these leopards. However, the leopards could close assault them if that's what they decided to do. So it's a 1-to-1 close assault if they did try it, and it's no advantage to them, 8-to-8. And actually, they're in woods, although the woods wouldn't make any difference. So the leopards are much better off not getting so close to the T-64s. It's better for the T-64s to be in close. They can close assault or even overrun leopards. And that's the way for the Soviets to have some impact on their turn. So learning as the West German player here, I should not have moved so close with those tanks. Oh. Okay, now you can see I'm like, oops, the artillery's done wrong, so I'm fixing it and fixing any things that I did that were wrong. And now they, uh, this is where I mentioned to everybody that shouldn't have fired. Oops, uh, on that back. Okay, so smoking wrecks get flipped over. And that's it. We're moving the focus markers on the map now and putting some control markers on there for the Russians. So they now control 2 worth 10 points. Okay, remember that? Okay, so we're done with this file. I'm going to pause it. And back into action. We are now on turn 4 here. Okay, so situation now is a bit fluid. Now, I didn't really quite realize it at the time, but I'm taking too much time over here. Let's use blue for the Western allies here. It takes time to penetrate these towns, and I learned this as I go. Unless you're coming in on a road like this, getting into these cities costs a lot of movement points. Let's check that out. If you look at the pack, and here at this, let me erase that. So look at a town. To get into a city, which is 3 or more hexes, costs you 2 leg cost and 3 in AFV cost. That's a lot. In fact, for one of our leopards, they have 5 movement points. You see, 5 right there. So if they start, let's say here, to get into here, and put an arrow for clarification, what I'm talking about up down here. So that would cost 3 movement points, and they don't have enough to get any further than 1 hex into the town. So I didn't realize, but I should have been moving a lot faster, taking some losses from the T-64s because I needed to get into the town faster than I had been doing. Okay, so we'll see if this bites me later. Okay, and now over here, you can see the T-80s here. I'll slide this over. You can see I've still forgotten to move this thing. It was just out of my line of sight on Vassal. One of the problems with Vassal is you can't see the whole map easily. So I'll move that in later up into this area. I think I move it like takes a couple turns for it to get across. This particular river that you see here, all right, is easy to cross. It's only +1 movement point for things to cross that. It's more like a creek. Okay. May have mentioned that before. All right. So moving on. Now we're into this next turn. Here we go. So stepping it forward. Initiative. The Soviets won again. Soviets picked their action cards. West picked their action cards. There I put some out that I plan on using here. Okay. So Can't remember. What I did was I actually, sorry about this. I put the Soviet cards here and the Allied cards here. So they have these op fire cards on this. Okay. So we're here trying to rally. You can see those guys rallying on this side. All of them basically rallied. Um, I don't even think I remembered to. Okay, that ECM marker should have come off. Now I'm remembering to pull this guy on, move him up there to spot for artillery, for guys coming down the road at this point in time. Okay. All right, fire phase. The Soviets play their artillery card, and now I'm doing an accuracy roll. It was accurate. They start blasting away, and they do get a critical hit, which turns that into rubble. What happens here is there's two things that happen when you rubble a town with artillery or mortars. First of all, it turns it into rubble. Second of all, you lose one victory point because you kill civilians. And third of all, you create a refugees marker, um, which basically represents refugees. Um, Sometimes they just wander around randomly and become targets you don't want to try to kill. Obviously, refugees, it's against the Geneva Convention or whatever, and so you lose points for killing refugees. Sometimes they turn into armed mobs and they start attacking your troops. Okay. I don't know where they get the weapons, but of course, if you're in the United States, they would probably just carry them with them. But anyway, it's quite funny. All right, so there's a critical hit. And so you can see um, a lot of damage was occurring from this artillery strike here. And then we put all this stuff in. They put a gun and run on those guys. As you can see, they killed them. That's the end of the first session here. So I had a new one. I had to split this up. So 1 second. Here we are on to the second session of the turn. And I think it's movement phase. The Soviets decided to go first. So they're starting to run around, moving around. Bring the BRDM up there. Is that a BRDM? As you can see, it's got that R circled for a recon unit. Also, the yellow circle around its anti-personnel refers to the fact that it did have some decent, it had 20 millimeter guns, 37 millimeter guns, something like that, something that could penetrate armor. So it is allowed to attack uh, any armored unit that has a armor factor less than or equal to 4. So basically, other Humvees, other, well, in this case, the Martyrs is what it would probably try to shoot at with that. As these Martyrs, if you look at them, they only have an armor of 2. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can see the same thing is true for these BTRs. Some of the Russian APCs, usually the BMPs, have anti-missile missiles, no, anti-armor missiles, anti-tank guided missiles with them at that time. Um, but these are the cheaper Soviet carriers here. Okay, so we're moving up here. We're moving in. That was an overrun here. There's no terrain charge, so they uh, let's see, they disrupted. What did they do? Oh, both of those guys got disrupted. I'm not sure how. Oh, I think I rolled really badly. Okay. And the West was eliminated. So yeah, I overran here in the town with an overrun. Now I should have overrun here. I moved from here to here for 3 movement points. Then it was 4 or 5 because of the Zox. So you have to have enough movement points to be able to exit the hex, and you're supposed to exit right on the other side. So the overrun would have come through there like that. I played it wrong. I just allowed them to exit the hex any direction they wanted to, and I moved them down there. But that's not correct. That's not how you play this game. Okay. So the Soviets have come through and exited it, and I think because they wiped out everything, they wound up controlling that hex. So that's an overrun attack that was legally done this time. Actually, excuse me, no, that was an illegal overrun. also, because you're not allowed to overrun this kind of terrain. Okay. The terrain, let's go to the pack here. The terrain that you can overrun is open. So let me circle these. You can overrun an open terrain and in rolling terrain and hill terrain. I'm not even so sure you can overrun in cultivated terrain. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Okay. So only when the guys are wide open and visible can you basically take them out through overrun. So that was an illegal Soviet overrun. So sorry. Okay, but I'd already done an illegal one with the Western Allies before. So, you know, the joke's on both of us. All right, so continuing the Soviet move. They bring all their stuff with them. They're going to control all these hexes, running him backwards. Okay, so they're controlling a bunch of hexes. And it was opportunity fire from the blast hex, but it was enough to kill that infantry. All right, those tanks are moving in now. And here's again, the West Germans on this side messing around, mopping up stuff over here. They didn't really need to do that. They should have kept moving at speed towards the. That was probably if that was an overrun, it was also illegal. Anyway, there they are. Gun and run. You can move half your movement, which is only 2 fractions rounded down. So they're the ones who blew up these tanks here. These Soviet tanks that were in this hex were wiped out by them. And then they use their gun and run capability, which is demonstrated by just taking a quick look. You can see that 5 movement factors surrounded by an orange run and gun. That means they can spend up to half, fractions rounded down, of their movement and fire. The fire is shifted one column. Okay. So on this chart, let's say that if they were on the A column, it would go down to the 6 column. Okay. For the Soviets, they have a blue circle, which means they get shifted 2 to the left. So they're not quite as good, but they can still do fire and move activities. Okay, it's probably been re-explained a couple times. Anyway, I'm moving up, moving up, moving up, moving up. Okay, there's a close assault wipeout there. Clear this out. All right, and flipping those, no changes to the smokes. And that's the end of turn 4. So let's move on to turn 5. Okay, so here we are at the beginning of turn 5. The entire Soviet blocking force has been wiped out, but I'm running out of time for the Western Allies. I'm starting to realize it now. And I really realize it when I try to start getting into the town. See, I only have 1, 2, 3 turns, and that's really how many turns you need to start getting into the town. So really, I'm probably should have been running a lot faster, and I should have had a lot of West Germans in this region right here. Okay, and they were not there yet because they'd spent too much time mopping up the T-62s instead of doing gun and run to take them out and taking some hits on the martyrs. I was too protective of my infantry. The cavalry's got to arrive and they got to take their hits. So the Soviets now are going to be able to invest the rest of the town because they're inside it here. And that's what you're going to see on this turn. So here we go. Oh, here we go. All right, so the Soviets win the initiative again. They do there's the cards they pick. Some other cards are picked. Some firing is done here. They took a long-range shot at something. I'm not sure what they did. Oh, no, they were disrupted by a long-range shot. Okay. And then they got fired at. and one of them got destroyed. The T-88s aren't that much better on defense than the T-64Bs, unfortunately. Okay, so that's the problem here. So there's some long-range firing, which the Leopards are going to win those battles. All right, so I have a disrupted guy that I moved back. No, I should never have moved back. That was a mistake. You don't need to protect your guys that much. Just try to rally them. I was trying to improve their rally chances. But actually, I don't even think I could have moved there because that would have cost 1, 2, 3. So, and you only get half your movement when you're disrupted, I believe. Okay. Anyway, here comes the West Germans, but it's going to be now finally getting into position, but they're really a turn too late for this. And I'm starting to figure out, I don't think I'm going to be able to pull this off as the West Germans. A lot of action here. Okay, so that's the end of turn 5. And you can see the general positions here. The West Germans coming in. There's a few guys left here, but the Russians now have 44 points. You can see that I wrote that down right here. 44 points, 45 points for the town hexes they control, and -1 for the civilian casualty. Okay. Notice that, by the way, I did a move. The refugees, I moved them into that hex, but actually refugees never move where combat units are, so they should have stayed there. I correct this later. Okay. So that's the end of turn 5. Let's pull up. So focused action in this area in turn 6. Most Germans are finally aligning their counterattack. You can see they can't even get into the town unless it's along the road. And the Soviets have tried to block that with some tanks. They're disrupted, but let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. The Soviets win the initiative again. Here's the card pulls. Then there's the rallies. Looks like the Soviets were able to rally this T-88. They did. Okay. And some other rallies. Okay. So rallies seem to happen pretty easily now. West rallies, these guys failed miserably. So they're pretty much toast by now at this point. Okay, fire phase, the Soviets fire first. They're going to, of course, try to take out a tank. Refugees move out. They shouldn't have been there. So here, let's break this down. They got 12 to 10. Okay, at that range, it's normal range, so it's on the 2 chart. You can see I wrote this over here as a 2 FP shot right here. Okay. So here's the roll, a 5. They actually disrupted that guy. He's going to shoot back and probably wipe him out. We're going to run, realizing bad shot there too. Some bad shooting was happening here. All right, so looks like I fired. Somebody fired at him. Oh, I think I got a second shot or something with one of those cards. So took out a mortar, flipped it over, and disrupted it. Okay. Trying to take care of those guys. You can see there's some long distance shooting here. All of this now they're into the movement phase. Soviets are moving in to take over the entire town. And income. So here we go. We start trying to run as quickly as possible in here. These leopards are getting in. Unloading some infantry finally, but it's a turn too late, really. Okay, it's really going to be too late. I should zoom out a bit. Okay. All right. That's where I mentioned the concern. There's too much delay. So there's some attacks in here. Okay, they do take one of the hexes back. Aid and focus method are next, and that's it. Last turn coming. Let me get it up. So here we are, last turn action. All right. Soviets really have too much. The West Germans won't be able to get in. I think finally won the initiative, finally. Okay, so here's some cards that are available. Some shooting is done. Now I'm starting to do some shooting. Notice here, though, that these gun and runners here, okay, they can't get into the town. They don't have, I guess they can do a minimum move. So I guess they can get in. Uh, yeah, I think I made a mistake. I think they could do a minimum move to get in. So that would have been one hex that they could have taken. Okay. La, 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 la. So we all do all of this. These guys try to, they get mortared and disrupted. They come in around that side, coming in as much as they can. They try to do a close assault, big close assault on this hex here. Soviets win. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I think I could have taken this hex here. How do I just remove the units? Let me just check that. Counters. No, that's not what it is. Hide. There we go. Okay. So yeah, if I was able to do a minimum move here, I'd have to check that. But you see, they already spent half their movement, so I'm not sure if they could. Possibly did that wrong. But so the Soviets have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. If they don't count that as 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 39 points. If they could have done a minimum move into there with these guys, then the Allies would have won barely. Okay. So, good close scenario, tight. So, summary recommendations here of this game. It's a fun game. I don't know why it's not unpopular. I think it's unpopular because of this, you know, paranormal thing that got added by Mark. I don't blame him for trying something new. It's really good to have wargamers do that. There's the World at War 85 series, and there's also you can play this without the paranormals like I did, but it's quite fun with the paranormals. However, it doesn't seem to have really caught on as a game. That's too bad. There's World at War 85, which everybody's watching right now. The World at War 85, lock and load, they are totally blowing it as much as you can possibly blow it with wargamers by being completely behind schedule and non-communicative about their, at least as far as I can tell, they appear to be non-communicative about their shipment of the new module, which everybody's been waiting for since the first ones came out. They were quite popular and people spent a lot of money on them, including me. But I did not do the Kickstarter for the new version of World at War 85 because I didn't trust those guys to deliver a quality product because there was so much errata with World at War 85. I couldn't even believe it. All right. And, it's kind of funny. The designers are quite often patting themselves on the back, about their design. And, they love the game. Look, they put a lot of into it. There's a couple of guys that really put a lot of development and their heart and soul into it. And, they made some mistakes and there were some other things. But there was just so many rules problems. It was just, it's like, did you guys forget to play test? But I don't want to make that about this. So in this game here, unless I get a lot more acclaim, people wanted me to play this, but I'm just wondering how much they really wanted to see this. So I did it. It's done. I'm going to probably be moving back to some ASL in the next coming weeks. I've got some projects there that I want to start kicking off. So that'll be the next phase, I believe. Thanks for watching. If you like this, remember to click like, click subscribe. If you didn't like it, watch all this way. Thank you for watching. That's it. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.